Good evening, everyone. I'd like to formally welcome everyone tonight, including members of the gallery and press, to this council meeting. My name is Councillor Brett Cunningham and I am the current Mayor of the Golden Plains Shire Council. Tonight this council meeting is taking place within the council chambers at the Golden Plains Shire's Council Civic Centre in Bannockburn and is open to the public. This meeting is being live streamed in accordance with council's governance rules, and I welcome any viewers joining us online. As the meeting is open to the public to attend, if the live stream ceases at any time, the meeting will continue. I will now recite the opening declaration on behalf of all councillors. We, the councillors of the Golden Plains Shire, declare that we will undertake on every occasion to carry out our duties in the best interest of the community, and that our council shall maintain the standards of the Code of Good Governance so that we may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in this council by the people of the Golden Plains Shire. Acknowledgement of country. Golden Plains Shire acknowledges the First Nations people and respects their culture, heritage, beliefs and relationship with our lands. Our shire spans the traditional lands of the Wadawurrung and East Tamar people. Council acknowledges them as the traditional owners and custodians, and we pay our respects to both elders past, present and emerging. Council also extends that respect to all First Nations people who are part of the Golden Plains Shire. Councillors, do we have any apologies or leave of absence requests? Not. Thank you. Councillors, we have a resolution before us to confirm the minutes and confidential minutes of the scheduled meeting that took place on the 26th of September 2022-3 as circulated. Can I please ask for a mover? Whitfield, thank you. Can I ask for a seconder? Councillor Kirby. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion? As there's no one speaking against, I'll put that to the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Councillors, can I please ask if there are any declarations of conflict of interest in regards to any items on tonight's agenda?
Yep.
Councillor Gamble?
The item
4, and can I ask for the reason, if possible?
yeah, I have a material conflict of interest on that one.
Good. Move on to our first item, which is the citizenship ceremony. Got a few people here tonight, so I think this is what everyone's come along to take part in. It's we've got a couple of people tonight which are undertaking their citizenship, and it's great to see so many of their family and friends come along tonight. So you must be very popular people. I'd like to formally welcome everyone to this evening's citizenship ceremony. The ceremony is being conducted as prescribed in the Australian Citizenship Act of 2007 and the Australian Citizenship Regulations 2007 under the authority of the Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs. Tonight we welcome 2 candidates, and I congratulate them, and my fellow councillors do also, on their decision to become Australians. Citizenship is a common bond which unites all Australians, whether they are Australia's traditional inhabitants, first-generation migrants or descendants of the early settlers. Our rich heritage stems from the contributions made by all of our citizens. As a nation, Australia has a commitment to various values and institutions, including parliamentary democracy, equality for all citizens before the law, freedom of speech and religion, and the opportunity for all. Australian citizenship also brings responsibility and duty to obey our laws, to participate in the electoral process by voting, and to serve on a jury of your peers if called to do so. Candidates, Australia, and in particular the community of the Golden Plains Shire, takes great pride in your decision to choose to become part of this great nation. I'd now like to invite CEO Eric Braslis to read the message from the Honourable Andrew Giles, MP, Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs.
On behalf of the Minister, thank you for deciding to become an Australian citizen. Today, you join a nation that's one of the world's most successful multicultural societies, with around half of Australians either born overseas or with at least one parent born overseas. In Australia, everyone can be proud of who they are, and everyone should be respected, valued, and feel a sense of belonging. We are privileged to share this beautiful country with the world's oldest continuing culture. This is a fundamental part of who we are. For more than 60,000 years, First Nations people have cared for country. Appreciating and understanding this truth is a vital part of what it means to be Australian. Australians are united by our shared commitment to democracy, the rule of law, freedom of speech, religion, and association. Our diversity is our strength, and we prosper by embracing this. We believe in a society in which everyone is equal, regardless of their gender, faith, sexual orientation, age, race, national, or ethnic origin. Ours is the land of the fair go, in which respect and compassion underpins our care for each other and our willingness to reach out to those around us in times of need. By becoming an Australian citizen, you make a commitment to these values and to contributing to the evolving Australian story. On behalf of the Australian Government, heartfelt congratulations on becoming an Australian citizen this evening.
I'd like to thank CEO Braslis for providing that message of support for our candidates here tonight. Australian citizenship represents full and formal membership of the community of the Commonwealth of Australia, and Australian citizenship is a bond involving reciprocal rights and obligations, uniting all Australians while respecting their diversity. Persons upon whom Australian citizenship is conferred enjoy these rights and undertake to accept these obligations by pledging loyalty to Australia and its people, by sharing their democratic beliefs, by respecting their rights and liberties, and by upholding and obeying the laws of Australia. I would now like to invite Mr. Robert Paul Manuel to come forward and pledge his affirmation to Australia. Please repeat after me. From this time forward, I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people.
I pledge my loyalty to our
Democratic beliefs I share.
whose democratic beliefs I share,
Rights and liberties I respect.
whose rights and liberties I respect,
Whose laws I will uphold and obey.
and whose laws I will uphold and obey.
We have to get any family and friends can come up afterwards.
Excellent.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the ceremony, we'll invite family and friends to come up and take some photographs. I'd like to repeat after me. From this time forward under God,
From this time forward under God,
I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people.
I pledge my loyalty to Australia,
Whose democratic beliefs I share.
whose democratic belief I share,
Whose rights and liberties I respect.
whose rights and liberties I respect,
And whose laws I will uphold and obey.
and whose laws I will uphold and obey.
I would now like to invite everyone in the gallery who wishes to publicly affirm their commitment to Australia and its people to stand and join in repeating the affirmation. As an Australian citizen, I affirm my loyalty to Australia and its people,
My loyalty to Australia and its people,
whose democratic beliefs I share,
share,
whose rights and liberties I respect,
right,
and whose laws I uphold and obey. I'd ask everyone to please remain standing for the Australian National Anthem. We're going to do one verse. That's good.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are one and free, with golden soil and wealth and toil. Our home is good by the sea, our land abounds in nature's gifts, all beauty rich and rare. In history's page, let every state of God's Australia bear. In joyful strains, and let us sing of God's Australia
Candidates, I welcome you as citizens of Australia. The Act of Law is now completed, and on behalf of all Australians, I congratulate you and hope you may have a happy and successful future as citizens of Australia. You are more than welcome to remain for the remainder of Council's meeting, but please know that we will not be offended if you choose to leave after you've taken some photographs. Thank you. If you'd like to come up and take some photographs with family and friends, that'd be more than welcome to do that. Yeah, fine.
Just let Cameron in.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, councillors. Public question time. Public question time runs for 30 minutes prior to consideration of the formal agenda by council. We consider questions received with notice from the public. I'll call each person who submitted a question forward. Please come up to the microphone and ask your questions as it was submitted. Please note that question time is not an opportunity to make general statements or enter into debate with councillors or officers. We've got one question tonight from Cameron Steele, who's joining us virtually. Is he there? Yeah. Good evening, Cameron. Hope you can hear us.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Cunningham.
Thank you
for the opportunity.
Well, we always just like you to read your question, if you'd like. Thanks, Cameron.
Thank you. So, good evening, councillors and council officers, and thanks for the opportunity to ask the following questions. Happy to run them both together. Noting item 8.4 in tonight's council agenda, People for a Living Moorabool, of whom I'm a coordinator, have recently raised with the Golden Plains Planning Department the issue of planning application for dwellings next to waterways within the Moorabool catchment. And we'd like to thank Councillor Whitfield for facilitating a meeting with council officers. PALM has alerted officers to the differences in flood overlay reports from the VicPlan website and the Corangamite Catchment Management Authority flood portal, which contains the latest flood modelling for this part of the Shire, given the risks to property and potentially life, along with liability implications for council if the latest flood modelling is not used in assessing the aforementioned applications. Will council commit to immediately beginning the process of adopting the CCMA modelling via planning amendment for future assessments? And the second question, in the interim, will council commit to referring any building application in proximity to a waterway to the CCMA for assessment by that organisation, given it's our understanding that this is the practice of several other councils, even if the site is not directly under a floodplain overlay? Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. I'll ask Executive Director Wilson to supply an answer. Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Council officers, when assessing planning applications, are required to utilise the zoning and overlay mapping located within the planning scheme. In order to adopt flood modelling, Council is required to undertake a planning scheme amendment and undertake further modelling of the flood data to determine the extent of any new overlays to be included within the planning scheme, as was undertaken for item 8.4 on tonight's agenda for Teesdale. This will require funding resource allocation through either council funding or grant applications. We are unable to refer applications that are not located within an adopted overlay to the CCMA for comment, as planning permits are required to be assessed by the controls within the planning scheme, and council can only include conditions relevant to the requirements for a planning permit. In terms of interim measures, council will be writing to the Minister for Planning, seeking an urgent review on how flood and land subject to inundation overlays are implemented into the scheme, and that these overlays should be treated the same as bushfire mapping and implemented without a formal planning scheme amendment.
Thank you, Director Wilson. Thank you, Cameron, for your question tonight.
Thank you.
Councillors, we move on to our formal agenda, which is our formal agenda for tonight's meeting. Business reports for decision, agenda item 8.1, which is delegates' reports and informal meetings of councillors' records. I refer councillors to page 6 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that councillors receive and note the delegates' report and informal meetings of councillors for the past month. Can I please have a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Whitfield, thank you. And please may I ask for a seconder? Councillor Kirby, thank you. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion? Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. This month I and other councillors attended the listening post held at the Bannockburn Farmers Market, where residents are given the opportunity to speak directly to councillors about the issues concerning them. I also was asked to attend the Inverleigh Open Space Committee annual general meeting and chair the process of filling the executive positions. All positions were filled, and I must acknowledge the fantastic work they do looking after a combination of Crown and council land on behalf of council. I was unable to attend the MEMSI meeting, which it says I did in the agenda actually, due to a conflict, but due to our fine technology I was able to watch the replay and can report that Some personnel on the committee have changed. The SES boundaries have undergone some changes. Reports from each of the services were provided. Ambulance Victoria reported that their caseloads were stable and that COVID cases have decreased. Bannockburn Police has been allocated extra positions, with the station now having 2 sergeants and 7 members. Smyesdale has added 3 extra members. Golden Plains Shire has fire access tracks ready, flood sensors in place, and roadside slashing has begun. And naturally there was a lot of conversation about preparedness for the fire season. I also attended the Inverleigh Golf Club annual general meeting and must salute the work of the volunteers there to present the course as they do throughout the year. It's also worth noting the golf club embarked on a strategy a few years ago to incorporate a disc golf club, and an extremely successful partnership has formed and is growing. The recent Inverleigh Disc Golf Open attracted over 70 participants and has a rapidly growing membership. The Inverleigh Disc Golf Course, set amongst the Australian bush, is gaining a reputation amongst disc golfers as a premier course and a bit of a must-visit destination for disc golfers. This partnership and dual occupancy of the golf course is an example of how to successfully maximise use of recreation facility. I also attended the Inverleigh Progress Association meeting this month, where planning for the Inverleigh Community Christmas event was discussed, and it promises to be a fun event for the whole family. That's all from me. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Whitfield. Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I attended the launch of the Shelford Community Plan last Sunday week, and it was a great day, and we had an extreme amount of residents there from the Shelford area and the region. Glenn Jeffrey welcomed the residents. He was the CEO on the day, and myself and the CEO was also there as well. We were also attended by council staff who also helped with the barbecue, so I think thank you to them, because they do a great job in coming along, implementing the community plans and making it sure that the residents and the council team up together for a great event. The residents in Shelford are very passionate about their town. They are a small town, but very passionate. So it was really good to see how many people and young children, families turned up. And I think overall, it's, even for being a small town, their ambitions are very good, very high. They try to do as much as they can with the very little residents that they have. But at the end of the day, I think that's what community planning is all about, bringing the people out, getting people to know other residents, and just improving the township that you live in. I also attended the listening post in Bannockburn at the Farmers Market. It was a great morning, attended by a lot of the councillors. One of the standout questions of the day was, one of the residents was asking if the council would consider having a retirement village. And to be honest, I thought, what a great idea. We don't have one. We have a home for residents, but we don't actually have a village where people who are still capable of living to their fullest and just want to have other people around them, but don't want to have the hassles of being on a larger property. So I think from hearing what they would like, the CEO is definitely going to write to different organisations and see if there's anyone interested out there that might like to maybe build a retirement village for the residents around this district. So I think at the end of the day, there were some other great stories that were had, but I won't go into all of them. I thought that was the main one that attracted a lot of interest from my part. So with Bannockburn South opening soon, I think it could be a really good real estate move for any of the people who operate these villages. Thank you.
Councillor Kirby, any other councillors wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Gamble, thank you.
Mayor, Sorry, I left my papers behind. I'll just get it up on the screen. Yeah, highlights for the past council month, not included in the listing in the agenda under my name, include my attendance at the Turtle Bend Events Committee, AGM, and the Victorian Local Government Association Connect Housing Webinar for Local Government, and the Tidy Towns and Cities Sustainability Awards last night. Regarding the housing webinar, I was composed an expert panel providing perspectives and responding to live questions and chat comments from councillors all around Victoria. So there's a lot of different discourses going on. In preparation for that seminar, I'd like to thank the planning officers for their excellent update report supplied to councillors in the September strategic briefing, and I refer councillors to the same. So the Tidy Towns and City Sustainability Awards Victoria, as part of the Keep Australia Beautiful program, which includes for me a lot of past clean-up days with Cubs around Teesdale, etc. The awards have certainly morphed in recent years to be so much more, as Leader is just one of 10 categories, which also includes award category for Young Legend, Energy, Heritage and Culture, Community, Environment, etc. In future, I think they could drop the tidy part of the name and just call it Towns and Cities Sustainability Awards, because that is the basic division based on local government size, with 3 finalists each in the town or city category. Top performers of note for us included Geelong Sustainability for their solar homes project, which extended into Golden Plains. Surf Coast and Baw Baw, fellow peri-urban councils, also had top success. Regarding the listing in the agenda of all the other delegated meetings and events I attended, I can't discuss them all, but of note, I attended the MAV conference dinner, and I give special acknowledgement and congratulations to Councillor Kirby for receiving a 15 years service award. I also attended the Energy Transition Roundtable, which was a federal government feedback forum seeking feedback on issues relating to energy transition and infrastructure rollout from everywhere in Australia. It was commented publicly by a matter of comparison with other infrastructure rollouts. The Golden Plains Wind Farm project is considered a benchmark of a highly successful consultative engagement process in that Australia-wide context. I attended in person along with the Mayor the G21 Regional Plan Refresh Workshop, and that was further followed up with the workshop and refining of the plan with the councillor-only forum for extra thoughts and local government inputs around the priorities. Finally, I attended the 100-year celebration of the Umarella Scouting Camp at Anglesea, along with hundreds of others, primarily from our region. And as I was delegated, I gave a speech along with Scouting Victoria officials, Christine Cousins, and the deputy mayors from Surf Coast and the City of Geelong, 3 deputy mayors in a row. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Sharkey, thank you.
Very, very much. I too got round to a couple of events this month, and the listening post was a good one, attended by all councillors, and got a really good opportunity there for anyone that hasn't been down to the market. It's a great opportunity to get down there. I often get my bundle of flowers, check out the local barista, and get some local foods, and try to have a lovely bit of salami this month. So it's a great event down there. I think we have a great opportunity there, councillors. It is one of the true opportunities we get to speak to the community, and like Councillor Kirby mentioned before, sadly a lot of the issues that come to us from the community don't tend to be local government. They do either be federal level, or some of the comments that I had were along the same lines as yours, Helena, in terms of that private side of things and what's happening with the supermarket, when's the shopping centre, things that are outside our control as councillors, but it's good to be in touch with the community and see what they have to say. You know, I think it's something that we should probably do a little bit more, that listening post up there. I think we probably should divide and conquer. Maybe 2 of us do that every other month or something, so we've got consistent representation there. 7 of us all there at once. Sometimes I find it's a little bit overwhelming for people, but it's a great opportunity to really engage with the community there. Also, I had the pleasure of attending the MAV annual conference and state council meeting, which was held over 2 days. The annual conference is a great one to go to and really engage with our like-minded councils in our area and see what the passions of all of those are. So there was a presentation given, several presentations given, and definitely probably the standout for me and a couple of people on our table was that financial sustainability and the challenges that are presented to council. State and federal governments continue to roll out. The numbers are getting bigger and bigger, but in real terms, we as local government are getting less and less money. So there's a fantastic body of work that's been conducted at the moment through ALGA, trying to put all those numbers into real terms to present to our politicians and show them how little we are getting in real terms in roads and that. So there's a good bit of work to come out of that. Also attended a library board meeting, and that was pretty much the month. Thank you very much.
Shaggy, any other councillors wish to speak to most? Councillor Getson, thank you.
Yes, I attended the Ballarat Regional Landfill Monitoring Committee meeting. The next cell is completed and has passed all EPA requirements. It'll be starting to get filled in the next probably few weeks. There's 2 trucks carting out of there contaminated water to Melbourne every day, which we don't have to put up with. Our dams are sort of probably a metre below the level that's requirement. The landfill is still at this stage is anticipated for another 15 years, and then all materials will be transported to Melbourne, where our garbage costs will increase dramatically, unfortunately. So if people can learn to recycle their garbage much better. We did go to the truck that was unloading with the escort of the staff at the landfill, and we were only a couple of metres from the truck, and the stuff that came out of the back of that was unbelievable, and a lot of food stuff, so there's a lot of wastage and things like that. I was unable to attend Timber Town's general meeting because I could not get service on my computer, so that's a lot. Thanks.
Other councillors? If not, I'll just extremely busy month. Firstly, I was an apology for the G21 October board meeting. I put my back out and I was flat on the bed for the day. It was a busy month and there was a lot of double invitations for importing meetings. So I'd just like to acknowledge Deputy Mayor Gavin Gamble, who shared a fair bit of the workload for meetings that I believe that we should have had good representation there, but we couldn't be at 2 places at one time. A few of the highlights for the month were the G21 Board of Directors meeting, which Councillor Gamble's mentioned, that followed by G21 Regional Planning Joint Workshop that included working on the final draft of the 2050 Region Plan. I was part of a peri-urban delegation meeting with the Honourable Minister for Local Government, Melissa Horn. I got to speak to her on some of the items that we're going through at the moment. Some of the agenda topics that was discussed was conditions of the roads, population growth and required infrastructure. One of the hot topics was the withdrawal of the Growing Suburbs Fund, transport priorities, and also the Minister was very interested in councillor code of conduct policies at the different councils. I also attended the council listening post that was held recently at Bannockburn. Spoke to many residents on the day with conversations covering a range of topics. The general feedback from local residents appreciate and acknowledge the opportunity to meet with elected councillors and the opportunity to meet face-to-face to discuss applicable topics. I, along with Councillor Gamble and myself, also attended the Smilesdale Family Market, which was featured the launch of the Volunteers exhibition. And I think that's about it for me. It was, yeah. But anyway, thank you. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to close? Thank you. I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We'll move on to 8.2, which is the annual report for 2022-2023. I'll briefly present this item in accordance with the Local Government Act. The report is an item to be found on page 8 of the agenda. I am pleased as the Mayor to represent the Golden Plains Shire Council's annual report for 2022-2023. The annual report provides a comprehensive overview of our achievements and performance in 2022-2023 financial year against the 5 community outcome areas that are set out in the government plan, council plans for 2021 to 2025. Through dedication, collaboration, consultation, solutions, we have worked to enhance quality of life, foster sustainable development and address pressing challenges within our communities. In the past year, our council and community have worked diligently to ensure the growth and prosperity of our shire, striving to provide excellent services and sound governance. We've focused on understanding and addressing the needs of our community through open dialogue, collaboration and consultation. We have focused on infrastructure development, ensuring our roads, bridges and public facilities meet the needs of our growing populations. From the opening of the Ross Creek Playground, Meredith Multi-Play Space to completing the Meredith Shelford Road widening project, Council continues to advocate to state and federal government departments for further investment in roads, our community infrastructure, economic development and investment in public transport. A youth support to support youth access across the Shire. The opening of our Civic Centre in November 2022, which was delayed because of COVID, reduced energy consumption and climate action plans demonstrate our commitment to a greener and more resilient future. Council has also taken important steps towards reconciliation with our Reflect Reconciliation action plans. The RAP outlines actions targeting the 4 strategic focus areas of relationships, respect, opportunities and governments. Council welcomed a $2.2 million contribution from the state government's Growing Suburbs Fund for the Inverleigh Active Youth Space and Stage 2 of the Bannockburn Skate Park upgrade. Furthermore, Council welcomed the infusion of $60,000 funding through the Victorian Government's Barwon and Waterways of the West Grants program to develop the master plan for the newly acquired Moorabool River Reserve in Batesford. As we look to the future, Council's focus is to implement economic growth. Social wellbeing remains unwavering. Thank you to my fellow councillors, staff and volunteers who have made the Golden Plains Shire such a great place to work, live and socialise. I would like to thank CEO Eric Braslis for his energy, his sense of community and his excellence with commercial focus, which is particularly important as we enter turbulent economic conditions. Thank you to all our community for your ongoing support of the Golden Plains Shire Council. On behalf of Council, I would like to acknowledge the impact on our community during the unprecedented flood events of October and November 2022. We thank you for your support and understanding as we still continue with busy tasks of rebuilding together and come out the other side with refreshed and improved roadways throughout our Shire. In closing, we understand that challenges will still arise, but we are confident that working together we can overcome them and build an even stronger Golden Plains Shire. Councillors, the recommendation is that we receive the Golden Plains Shire Council Annual Report 2022-23 in accordance with the Local Government Act 2020. Can I please have a move of the recommendation? Councillor Gamble, thank you. May I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Whitfield, thank you. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. By endorsing the recommendation to accept this report, we meet our statutory and legislative requirements. Annual reports also provide transparency to our residents and other parties by presenting an open and accurate account of Council's performance against the Council Plan and the annual budget. The report outlines the breadth of services and operations, the financial performance. In the big picture, the responsibilities, achievements and tasks of all staff and councillors. I agree with the Mayor's introductory statement. It represents a comprehensive overview of our achievements and performance. I'd like to acknowledge the high level of positive and dynamic leadership from the CEO and the management team, particularly for transition over this period of time, for transitioning through and from the pandemic, the ongoing drive to improve and modernise many systems through the organisation, creating efficiencies and better outcomes. I acknowledge the high level of governance and the work being done to update and significantly improve policy and strategic plans, and our positioning and readiness to receive grants or work with external bodies or politicians. Indeed, our council organisation as a whole is well respected for the connections, relationships, profile and our success in advocating to and working with external bodies, which has and does benefit residents. I mention this aspect in particular because as the previous Mayor, through the double election period covered in this annual report, I had to work closely with the CEO to get the best commitments and results we could for our Shire. Many of the successful outcomes are yet to be materially realised. In recommending this report be accepted, I thank Mayor Cunningham and CEO Braslers for the excellent leadership being given to the organisation. Whilst I disagree on points of budgetary and strategic priority and emphasis at times, I do believe the Council sincerely aspires to reflecting and meeting the expectations and needs of the majority of Golden Plains residents. I thank also the Council staff and all the many great community groups and people of Golden Plains Shire who are working for the common good of making Golden Plains a great place to live and a place we can be proud of. Thank you.
Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion?
Mayor, well said, Councillor Gamble. Yeah, this is another good-looking, well-put-together document that illustrates Council's performances and achievements throughout the 2022 to 23 period. And despite a challenging year, there were many highlights. The Meredith multi-play space, the completion of the Meredith Shelford Road widening project, the Tannery Road floodway upgrade, the Lethbridge Boardwalk, Bannockburn Bowls Club sewer connection, just to name a few. There are now multiple wind farms in Golden Plains at various stages of completion and operation. These wind farms contribute significantly to green energy production and communities through localised grants and employment opportunities. Council lobbying and advocacy, I did some adding up there in the report, has borne over $5.1 million in confirmed state government funding commitments for work such as the roadside weeds and pest program, the Inverleigh active use space, the mobile library replacement vehicle, the Wodialloc Equestrian Centre design project and many more. Since my time on council, lobbying has always been a strong suit, and it shows again. The council organisation underwent a structural change by way of realignment of the directories. Well done to the teams impacted by that change as they continued production throughout that period, and they seem to have settled in well. Council has commenced the Asset Plan 2022 to 2032. The Asset Plan will provide for development, maintenance and renewal of essential assets like sealed and gravel roads, car parks, bridges and major drainage structure, buildings, curb and channel, footpaths and trails, stormwater draining and open spaces within the Shire. Council continued its consultation and engagement within the community across the Shire and ensured GPS residents were given opportunities to guide and direct Council firsthand. Council is preparing for the future of the Shire in many ways. One is the Growing Places strategy. This strategy will ensure the Shire grows in a sustainable and responsible manner that respects the rural lifestyle we all enjoy. The strategy itself and the work by our strategic planners will be a benchmark for a lot of other councils. There are many achievements to be celebrated in this year's report, but it's also prudent to be mindful of the economic climate we are in and to continue to seek beneficial outcomes through advocacy and in-house efficiencies. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Whitfield. Any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Any councillors wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Kirby, you wanted to speak to the motion? Sorry, I went a bit quick there. Councillor Kirby, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, it was just pleasing to see how much infrastructure we have built in the whole of the Shire, not just in certain parts. So I think the residents would be very pleased with that. We've seen the play spaces, which I'm very passionate about, being done in built in Inverleigh and Meredith. We've also seen the just about the completion of the Leedale Equestrian Centre. And I know at times, you know, we have had some really robust roundtable discussions on whether council can afford some of these projects. But as we know, in the last year, with inflation and the cost of materials going through the roof, we've had to make some really hard decisions. And we either make the decision or we send the money back. And I think at the end of the day, if we couldn't come together as a good group of councillors and work hard to achieve these goals and aspirations of what the residents want, we shouldn't be in council. So really pleased to say that as councillors we've worked really hard in this area. So it's really pleasing to see the Leedale Centre up and going. I drove past there, had a look, and you could see the infrastructure that has been built there, and seating and lighting is also going in as we speak. Also, we've done a lot of work on bridges. We do get a lot of money, federal money, and I think as a council we can't afford to replace all the bridges that we have in the Shire. So it's really pleasing to know that money is allocated to us, and some of them might only be small bridges, but they do impact farming lives and people just trying to move across the countryside. So some of these bridges are, you know, significant in people's everyday lives. The Don Wallace Reserve is another good example of the community coming together, and they have developed a master plan for that area. It was a few years ago I was contacted, and that has now been achieved with the master plan, and the amount of residents that are supporting it is fantastic. We've seen from the results how many people and young children are using the facility. They're getting a football club up and going, and they're just there's people just really wanting to put their hands up. So I think it's a good achievement. We've seen some of the different areas is just the size of the oval maybe being a bit smaller, tennis courts being upgraded, and the building there being upgraded as well. Mind you, I don't think having a second story on their building, I don't think we're going to get a lift too soon. So I do apologise for any of the people who are disabled and might not be able to use that top floor. It's just a matter of funding opportunities. So overall, I'd just like to thank the council, thank the residents for coming on board, being involved in what matters to you as residents, and putting forward your ideas, and we will also see that again tonight in some of our further plans that are coming towards council. So thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kirby. Any councillors wishing to speak for the motion?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much. This is a look. If anyone asks you the question, what is local government about? What do you do? And many of us get asked that question. What do you do as local government? This is probably the best document that you can put before any resident, just to show them an absolute cap of everything that we strategically do as local government. Every local government's the same, all 79 in Victoria. Produce a document like this, and it's really quite interesting to sit down and have a look at this. You get to see all the achievements, the challenges that are presented to us in this year. You also then get to see the council plan and how that feeds into that. Previously, I don't believe the council plan wasn't embedded in this, and it's nice that it is now, because residents can sort of say, well, okay, well, I can see why you do that. We asked you to do that, and how that feeds into that. And then if you go to the end of the report, then you get to see how the finances feed into that. So it's a fantastic document. It's not one that I think we as councillors probably go over page by page, because a lot of it is stuff that we've seen before and that. But it's quite interesting. I always find it quite interesting, some of those state government initiatives that get fed into us through grants, and how we have to deliver those. And some of those are some of our unsung achievements, or some of our greatest achievements is, you know, some of those youth leadership programs that are there that get funded by the state government, things like that we deliver those. It's quite amazing to see how much we actually do as local government. And this document, I'm sure if the state or federal government could produce a document with as many achievements as what we do at the bottom in local government, the world would be a far better place. But it's a fantastic document, full appreciation to the comms team to produce such a very good looking document, easy to read, and yeah, nice one for the coffee table for all the local government geeks out there. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Councillor Sharkey. Any other councillors wishing to speak to? Any councillors wishing to speak against the motion? If not, I'll ask Councillor Gamble to close, please.
Yeah, thank you. I'll just say further to Councillor Sharkey's observation, on page 10 of the annual report, it lists the over the 70 services provided by Golden Plains Shire to the community. So, yeah, sometimes it's good to have a list like that just for the poor councillor's brain as well, to be reminded of everything we're up to and doing, and the inputs that we have right across the Shire with different ages, you know, environment, local laws. There's a lot there, so page 10 is really good for that, and 11. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, I'll now put this motion to vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Agenda item 8.3, Local Government Performance Reporting Indicators, End of Year Report. Councillors, I refer to page 12 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that councillors receive the end of year report on the local government performance reporting indicators for the period 1st of July 2022 to the ending period of 30th of June 2023 as attached in the agenda. Are there any questions to direct the councillors?
Yeah, just a question to
Certainly, Councillor Sharkey.
Director Sagona. My apologies to Acting Director Wilson. My apologies. Just a question with regards to in this document the statutory planning items. There's some significant increases there in the amount of time. A couple of years ago, we were delivering planning applications at 80 days. Now it's 102 days, and then also the decisions within our timeframes, we were doing nearly 80%. Now we're down to closer to 50%. I'm just wondering if you could give a little bit of a summary on that.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So, Councillor Sharkey, in terms of timeframes, we've had difficulty in obtaining staff and have had various vacancies in the stat planning team over the last 12-month period, including 2 planners and a coordinator. We've also had multiple contractors to try and assist the team in determining applications. Both onboarding new staff and contractors takes time in training to our systems and planning scheme, so that's why there's been a decrease. In terms of current reporting, the first quarter for this financial year, the median days have decreased to 72 and the percentage has improved to 65%. That's the quarter. For each month, it's approximately around 70%, so we're on the rise.
Councillors, can I please ask for a mover for this recommendation? Councillor Whitfield, thank you. Can I ask for a seconder? Councillor Gamble, thank you. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yes, I move that councillors receive the end-of-year report on the local government performance reporting indicators for the period 1st July 2022 to the 30th of June 2023 as attached in the agenda. Yeah, just going through some of the indicators there, I noticed the reduction in total loans by 1.6 million compared to last year. That's to be commended. This brings our loans compared to revenue down to 36.6%, which is a great improvement on the 2020 level when I joined council of 58%. Workforce turnover, while reduced to 17%, which is a great improvement, but as we've just heard, it still contributes delays for some departments. We just heard about the town planning issues there. The indicator for rates effort shows a 30% increase in property values, but only a 4% increase to the rate revenue. I put this down to the state rate cap and council's concerted effort to keep rates down. The forecast figures of the financial performance indicators show a return to surplus in 2025, which after some unforeseen expenditure, namely the flooding of October-November 2022, indicates it indicates that council is determined to rectify that deficit as soon as possible. There are 58 measures in the performance report that demonstrate improvements or declines in performance. It's now council's job to address these and ensure that the good results continue and that the weaker results are improved. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yes, thank you. It's another end-of-year reporting mechanism. It's also prescribed but designed to apply to all Victorian councils for the ability to compare. It should be noted that these are base level ones for comparison between all councils, and they make clear the relative change over 4 years. I thank Councillor Sharkey for the suggestion that this particular items are printed out because they're quite complex and dense and difficult to read just on the computer screen. However, for Golden Plains Shire, I think it's there are items not considered that are important items for us, such as perceptions of things like fire preparation and emergency management. Perceptions and measurables on those items would be really good to know, I think. Also, things like the environment too, with biodiversity loss, flora and fauna, and measurements for weed and pest control too could possibly be included in the future for our customised indicators. There are many performance outcomes that are understandably affected by the La Nina weather event of last year, and that includes the degradation to roads, drains and some bridges, and that resulted in a massive increase in requests for repairs and sealed roads. Costs of the repairs increased as well. The general shortage of planners has affected Golden Plains as well, and as just spoken about, with time taken to decide applications increasing significantly. The 30% increase in property values with only a 4% increase in total rate revenue demonstrates that the finances are under stress. It's there just because of that disparity. It's disappointing to see a decline in some service measures, such as the satisfaction with community consultation and engagement, and also satisfaction with council decisions. I think we really need to try and find out why that is and what we can do to reverse that. There's also been significant improvements, however. There's the 1.6 million reduction to total loans and a reduction in staff turnover, which has big implications for the organisation, as Councillor Whitfield indicated. So I'll leave it there, thanks.
Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Councillor Sharkey, thank you.
Thanks very much. This is quite an interesting document to sort of sit down and look at the figures, analyse all the data there. Just a couple of areas in which I sort of took a look at was the libraries and what we're achieving there. It's a little bit unfair, some of this data, how it's actually produced and divided up. Libraries aren't what libraries used to be. Some of these indicators are divided by the amount of borrowed books and that. Libraries are no longer about books and borrowing books, so those indicators aren't a fair representation. You can sort of see that the borrowing in books are going down, or it has moved down 3%, which is probably about 600-700 residents borrowing less books, but that doesn't mean the libraries are seeing less people. We're probably seeing more people come in, use the Wi-Fi, use different things, and not necessarily borrow hard books. I'm not too sure if those figures actually include some of the e-books where people are just sitting at home and downloading the books and downloading audio files and that. So it's so some of those indicators there on the libraries are a little bit disappointing, but I don't think they're a true reflection of what's actually happening out there. The statutory planning one is alarming to me, and it's one that I know as a councillor I receive a lot of complaints from residents in regards to the frustrations with planning. And one of the biggest frustrations is lodging an application, building up a certain amount of rapport with Mr. or Mrs. Jones as the officer, and then a few months later that officer leaves and somebody else comes in and they pick up a file and have to take 2 steps backwards. And a lot of residents are expressing frustration with that. I know when I actually say to a lot of residents, look, do you want to file a formal complaint? They're actually afraid to to speak to council or afraid to lodge a formal complaint because they feel that officers may look poorly upon their application and then slow things down further. So I just know that this has been an area that we should put under the microscope and put some extra efforts into, because the figures there are pretty disappointing. That our applications now are blown out to 102 days, just inside the indicators here at the very top end. When we speak about that retention, it's identified in our annual report, the complications around staff retention. We pat ourselves on the back and say we're down to 17%. That's within normal. That's great. But if you actually analyse and see where that turnover is, to me, looking at this, there's a large turnover, or there's a large complications in attracting staff in that area of planning, which then sort of produces these poor figures. And it is stressful on planners, and when there's that high turnover, additional stress, numbers like this, residents get frustrated, staff get frustrated, and if I was a staff member in a high stress environment, I'd be getting on seek.com and looking to go somewhere else. We're seeing the figures there. A couple of years ago, it was costing $1,000 per service for planning, and now that's jumped up 20%, up to $1,200. So that's because we're spending more money on consultants coming in to do some of these applications. So I think it is an area of concern for us. And it's good to be able to see these figures analysed like this. There's a couple of areas there of concern across, but I did want to highlight planning here tonight as a real challenge for this council. And being at the MAV council meeting last week, it is across the board. A lot of councils have the complication of not being able to attract staff in this area. It is something that is at state level, but I think we're probably one of the more challenged councils in this regard, so it'd be an area we'd like to see some improvement in this time next year. Thank you.
Buggy. Any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Any councillors wishing to speak against the motion? If not, I'll ask Councillor Whitfield to close.
Nothing further to add, thanks.
Councillors, I put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Councillors, we move to agenda item 8.4, authorisation of planning scheme amendment C104, Teesdale flood study. Councillor Gamble has submitted a conflict of interest. Councillors, I refer to page 16 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that Council adopts the findings of the Teesdale Flood Risk Investigation Study done by Water Technology Private Limited 2023, authorise the preparation and exhibition of an amendment to the Golden Plains Planning Scheme to modify the land subject to inundation overlay and floodway overlay mapping in Teesdale. Are there any questions to Director Wilson, councillors? Councillor Whitfield.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. My question was just in the report. It states that communication of the amendment will be in accordance with the Planning Environment Act 1987, but does that include direct notification to the 38 extra properties that will be affected by the proposed new flood and land subject to inundation overlays?
For you, Mr. Mayor. So all additional properties proposed to be included within both the flood overlay and land subject to inundation overlay will be notified by way of direct mail. Notice of the amendment to the planning scheme will also appear in the Geelong Advertiser and Golden Plains Times.
Thanks. And
just to add to that, and there's no reason why we won't notify, as we do regularly, the local newsletters, and in this case, we can advise them, and they're likely to put it in their local newsletter as well.
And also additional properties will be notified in consultation with the Department of Transport and Planning, who actually direct council to give notice of the amendment.
Thanks. And just one follow-up to that. The Water Tech report, is that available for viewing at council?
Will be once it's on exhibition. All the supporting documentation will form part of the planning scheme amendment.
so people can come and see for themselves what's planned. That's great. Thank you.
Councillor Whitfield. Any other questions to the Director? If not, can I ask for a councillor to move this motion? Kirby, thank you. Can I ask for a councillor to second the motion? Councillor Whitfield, thank you. Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'm very pleased. We've done a lot of background work on this report. I think it all comes about with not having the documentation to show what the weather patterns were like, but when you go and speak to the residents, they were very passionate, and we did have a lot of people come out and support our council staff in this area. So as we can see, we've got certain areas where the creek is, but then when you look at some of the rainfall patterns and what's going to happen in the future, or what may happen in the future, we can see that some of these areas could be inundated with extra water coming down the creek. We also know that we have the Teesdale Kindergarten in this vicinity as well. And it's a bit of a shame because I don't know what's going to happen in the future when we need to upgrade that facility, but we might not be able to because it's in that zone of I can't even say it. Inundation. Thank you. So I think down the track we're going to have to do a lot of work to see if we're able to move the kindergarten as well, because we know that Teesdale is such a growing town, and for the future we've just got to think of what we can do for the future of the kindergarten, but also the residents along those areas. So we don't want to see them impacted like they were, especially in Inverleigh. We've seen some really dire residents and the impacts that the water had on them. But I think with this going out to the public, I think it's going to show what the hard work has become from the residents and the staff alike. So thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. And I'll touch on what something Councillor Kirby said, and that was that when the consultation took place, there were some locals that actually provided first-hand data they'd been collecting for many, many years to the water tech consultants, and that was included in the outcome of the report. Yeah, this flood study was commissioned by Golden Plains and funded through the Risk and Resilience Grants Program, managed by Emergency Management Victoria, with funding provided by the Australian Government in partnership with the Victorian Government under the National Partnership Agreement for Disaster Risk Reduction. What it does is provides current up-to-date data and modelling where flooding may impact on residents, properties and infrastructure. It predicts flooding heights and identifies high-risk areas for flood warning and evacuation. The study focused on the native Hutt Creek and its tributaries in the Teesdale area, and as we found out earlier, the report by Water Technology is available through Council for viewing. There are some environmental benefits from this proposed amendment, such as ensuring septic systems and their dispersal fields out of the overlay areas. I think it's a terrific piece of work that will enable property owners and council to ensure infrastructure is built out of harm's way. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Any councillors wishing to speak against the motion? If not, I'll ask Councillor Kirby to close.
Thank
No
you.
problem. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Good, thank you. Councillors, we now move on to agenda item 8.5, which is in regards to the Moorabool River Reserve Master Plan adoption. It can be found on agenda page 25, which I'll refer you to. At this time, I'd like to please ask Executive Director Joseph, if he could give us an update status of the CCMA funding for this item.
Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, the Moorabool River Master Plan before you tonight was funded through a $60,000 government grant through its Iconic Urban Waterways program and developed following significant stakeholder and community consultation. In September of this year, the Council's Environment team presented to the Corangamite Catchment Management Authority's Strategic Advisory Committee our case for allocation of the portion of $514,000 that they have allocated to progress projects to shovel-ready status for the overall strategic plan on the Moorabool River. And forgive me if I get this pronunciation wrong, but that's the Kijara Jabulato Langiut project. We were eligible to apply as it was identified by the CCMA as one of 9 high priority projects to bid for funding in this year. Each of the 9 project sponsors that applied presented virtually to an independent assessment panel and were scored by those panel members against some preset criteria. To help our cause, the budget that Council allocated of $25,000 to commence some works at the Moorabool River Master Plan was flagged, and that enhanced our chances of successful application. So pending Council's adoption of the plan at tonight's meeting, I'm pleased to advise that Council has been successful in being offered a grant of $175,000 to progress the master plan key actions to shovel ready. The view of the assessors was that it would be better to allocate funds to a smaller number of projects to fully progress to shovel ready rather than spread over a large number of projects to partially progress. So the expectations of the allocated funds include progressing the following key master plan actions through design and approvals over the next 12 to 18 months. The Wadawurrung Management Plan with an estimated budget of $50,000, detailed design and approvals for trails and access points at an estimated cost of $40,000, and detailed design and approvals for facilities which include integrated nature plan and gathering place, including a shelter, which is estimated at $85,000. I should also mention the $175,000 does exclude $50,000 we included to undertake detailed design approvals for wayfinding and interpretive signage. These works were assessed by the panels as on-the-ground works, whereas the funding was for progressing approvals and design actions through the shovel-ready status. We are meeting with the Batesford community next Wednesday, and we will inform them of this project, of this success, through the CCMA. And we'll also advise them that community members will be invited to participate in the development of the designs and the Wadawurrung Partnership development of a management plan, or as we'll call it, the Healthy Country Plan. And of course, we'll keep an eye out and continue to seek funding for other opportunities wherever possible. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Environment and Sustainability team on behalf of Council, who have been working hard over the last 2 years to progress this, but particular thanks to Dale Smitherman, who has worked tirelessly to progress the plan through a highly collaborative and informed approach.
I'll just add to that, through you, Mr. Mayor, that again reinforces, I know these master plans commit a lot of council money and council time in the development of them, but as you've seen with this, I think Councillor Kirby just mentioned about the Teesdale master plan that was done probably, over the last 24 months and then brought to you for adoption. All of these plans then subsequently lead to us being able to advocate and lobby, make funding applications, and generally speaking, and we could list them all over the last few years, have led to funding announcements. So I know they take a lot of time and energy, but without them, they don't. Attracting funding is very difficult, and you can see from some of these recent examples that once we do have those documents adopted, it does lead and provide greater opportunity to seek external funding.
Okay. Councillors, any questions to the Director? Councillor Kirby, thank you.
Thank you. I just have a question regarding the naming. You did say an Aboriginal name there before. Is that going to be the actual name of the...
That's the name for the plan for the whole of the Moorabool River, well, not the whole of the Moorabool River, but extending from north of us right through to the Barwon River Junction. But our little project's called the Moorabool River Master Plan.
Okay. We actually haven't got a name for that area as yet, or are we going to keep it as the Moorabool, do you think?
I suspect that'll be part of the Wadawurrung maintenance plan that we'll work on. and then we'll go through a process of, as required under the state naming of places regulations, if we get to that. But at this stage, there's no proposal for a name, but I suspect that'll be part of the thinking moving forward.
Thank you.
Councillor Rowe, thank you.
I've got 3 questions to ask. I'll just ask them individually. The master plan actions include pest plant control. I just noticed there's a fair bit of serrated tussock presence of this weed in the Riverstone estate. What is being done to make residents aware of this weed growing on their properties near the Moorabool River Reserve?
Yep. So through you, Mr. Mayor, our Environment Officer Dale Smitherman, he does inspect the area quite regularly and writes to the owners, advising them that to take action if they can, as they should. We have limited powers in enforcing that. It's a Department of Agriculture issue more often than not, and we do liaise with them as well.
My second question is, will access be opened up to vehicles to this reserve, because there's a long walking access, one in particular over 500 metres in length? So that was another question.
At this stage, it's not proposed to have car access because the land's not available, but we will have that in the back of our mind if land does become available and funding becomes available to open it up a bit more.
Okay. And my third question is, I've been notified by some residents down there of electric fencing on property beside the access track. Is this appropriate in a public area? And if not, what will council do in relation to this?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors to the director? If not, can I please ask for a move of this recommendation? Councillor Sharkey.
Happy to move an alternative recommendation which I've circulated through to councillors prior to the meeting. And it just adds, it endorses the recommendation, but just also adds point 2, that we ask the CEO to arrange for the master plan action tables set out in the Moorabool River Reserve Master Plan be used to prepare a prioritised program of works for consideration in council's budgets over the next 3 years.
Thank you. You'd like to move that alternative? Can I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Whitfield. Councillor Sharkey.
Thank you very much. Look, this is a power of work here, and as Director Josipovic has mentioned there, Dale Smitherman's been at the backbone of this and done a huge amount of work from an officer's point of view in really engaging with the community, getting them down there, highlighting some of those weeds down there that Councillor O mentioned too, some of the challenge that is presented to council. It's a significant amount of land that we're adopting or taking over here, so it does present financial challenges for council looking after that. So this has been a power of work. I think some of the consultation which we started just before Christmas last year, you know, I think in the end we've got it right. I think some of my concerns during the consultation process was, are we getting to the right residents and people in the Shire, getting their input? Because sadly most, you know, 25, 35-year-olds are either not engaged or they don't have the time, and you tend to see an overrepresentation of certain people in documents like this. But I think the end document has got it right here. This is a guiding document. It's not setting anything in stone. Communities into the future can massage this, change it to within reason. But this sets out a really good plan here. I have added there point 2 that we ask the CEO to arrange the master plan. That's not committing to us. There's no financial commitment there. It's just sort of saying to the community, hey, look, let's try and elevate it there. I think Director Josipovic and Mr. CEO has already identified some of the things that they're doing actively there. So they're already probably ticked the boxes for the first year there. But I think from our point of view as councillors, we need to sort of show to a community of Batesford who have received next to nothing over the years. I was 10 to 15 years my junior when we were promised land in this. My kids now are too old to play in playgrounds. This reserve, hopefully they can go down and become a part of it. I suppose the one thing I'm disappointed with it is the legacy that's left by the developer and by previous planners. This isn't a fantastic. The way in which we have taken this over, there's a lot of challenges there. The entries in and that. Did the planners get it right back in yesteryear? I'd say that they're not. They didn't get it right. Did the developer themselves engage in the community? I would have loved to have seen the engagement with the community over the last 10 years and this document be done as we're going along. The community have waited years and years to have this. We finally have it now. The document is there. So it's fantastic to see some of those funds that have gone forward there. And I'm very comfortable with this document. I think the community have really received it quite well. I've spoken to a lot of community members and it has been quite well received by all. So good work to all there. Thank you very much.
Councillor Sharkey. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the alternative motion? Thanks.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, I was happy to second Councillor Sharkey's amendment there. It just ensures the master plan is kept on the radar, and as he said, it doesn't lock in any funding, but just puts it out there for the council going forward in the next few years to consider it. Yeah, I remember myself and a number of councillors, in fact, attended a couple of community consultation meetings at the Batesford Hall there regarding this master plan, and what was evident was the people of Batesford are very connected to that reserve and they value it deeply. Just going through the plan, the key goals derived from that consultation were traditional custodian values and culture, protection and restoration of biodiversity, improvement in awareness of heritage values, improved public access, providing for low-key, climate-resilient recreation facilities. The master plan clarifies and prioritises the future management and development of the Moorabool River Reserve in Batesford to align with council responsibilities and community aspirations. The master plan aligns with the council plan, the climate emergency plan, the municipal public health and wellbeing action plan and the environmental strategy. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Councillor Gamble, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I commend the adoption of this master plan to my fellow councillors and Councillor Sharkey's addition to the original motion. I support funding and prioritising and programs towards all environmental projects, and this is a high quality one, that the more we can realise it, the better. I would, like several councillors here, I was at the early community engagements, the walks and the hall meeting, and it's great to see this come back after a second round of community and stakeholder consultations. So there were some amendments that have been made in response to the second round of feedback, and I'm confident a thorough engagement and consultative process has been undertaken. The master plan provides strategic direction for the management and development of the reserve, which features the majestic Moorabool River. It's a serene and very beautiful place that needs valuing, looking after and protection or management, so its natural values and biodiversity retain and enjoyed by the majority into the future. The plan is to integrate Wadawurrung traditional custodian values and the development of a healthy country plan and the future adoption of a Wadawurrung name. The Moorabool River Reserve, as its current working name is, it already links into and is part of the extensive open space network around Batesford, and it further provides an enviable and very high quality natural environment close by for the people of Batesford. So thanks to the many council officers for the work undertaken to finalise this master plan, and in particular, as has been mentioned, Dale Smithyman for his oversight and consolidation of this magnificent environmental asset for the people of Batesford and the wider public. Thank you.
I'd also like to recognise the work of Dale and the council staff, and also the community of Batesford for their input. Debbie, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, from quite a few years ago, we've seen this plan come into existence, and we know that when the developer was handing over the land, us as councillors and council realised the beauty and of that area. We did take on extra land that was offered to us from the developer, and I think overall that was a benefit to the Batesford community. My one thing is that we've got to look at is to make sure that what we build there, the infrastructure is going to withstand floods. It is in a flood zone. We know that because all the houses are up higher on the hill, and that they have big backyards that come down towards the river. In other areas, you know, we have seen big gazebos, that sort of thing being taken out because we know the power of water. So with the residents in mind and going forward, just to make sure that the infrastructure can at least try and withhold floods. We don't want to have to be replacing it all the time, because we know we don't get compensated by the government for these things that end up floating down the river. We've seen that at Inverleigh with the bridge and other community assets. So I did see that there was some logs that were some of the residents thought might be a good idea for seating and that sort of thing, but when you think about it, they're going to end up down the river. So to make sure that, you know, there's good cement footings going in, going down to hold these structures in place. But overall, I think it's going to be a very enjoyable space for people. You know, even for kids, maybe just to have a bit of a kick of the footy, have a bit of a game of cricket. So Owen, take it on board. Your kids can still go down there and enjoy it. It doesn't have to have a playground. You can have a beautiful nature reserve down there as well. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Sharkey, would you like to close?
Yeah, thank you very much. I received an email today from a Batesford resident, and I couldn't word it better, so I'll just read it out. The thoughts which I very much share. Firstly, I'm extremely pleased with the draft master plan which has been presented tonight, and the council staff and consultant associated with its preparation should be congratulated on both the approach taken through the study and the document as presented. In my view, it provides a sound management plan for application to the reserve, and I am therefore fully supportive of its adoption. In particular, I consider the framework for the master plan that uses the three management zones, public access, conservation and restoration, to be an innovative and sound method of considering the competing interests that arise during such a planning process. It provides clear separation of the various needs and opportunities identified by the community, and therefore avoids many of the potential conflicts that could otherwise arise. So I think that's really well worded there, and perfectly represents, I think, what all councillors here think with regards to this master plan. I'd like to also acknowledge the Batesford rate-paying group who took on this at the early stage. Now, we talk about the $60,000 grant that we got from the government and the council $25,000. That local rate-paying group there put in towards $2,000 to do some initial plans on this and get this up and running. That probably represented about 90% of the funds. So there was a full commitment from them to make sure the community was engaged. They put their money where their mouth was, and that was before we started this process. And I'd also like to commend a previous officer of Golden Plains Shire and local resident, Mr. Peter Cameron, who's in attendance here tonight for his guidance within the community. It's absolutely a mountain of work, or it's just priceless to have someone like that in the community that can strategically guide a community. We as mere mortals in the community who think certain things, when you've got someone like Peter in a community that strategically guides and appreciates the challenges of council and also brings the community together, really helped in this. So I'd like to publicly acknowledge the work that Mr Peter Cameron, a previous employee here and local resident, did. So thank you very much.
Well spoken, Councillor Sharkey. Councillors, I'll now put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, I'll refer you to agenda item 8.6, Councillor Code of Conduct adoption. The recommendation is that Council revokes the Council Dispute Resolution Policy of 2021, adopt the revised Councillor Code of Conduct as attached in place of the previously adopted Councillor Code of Conduct 2021. Councillors, are there any questions to Director Gray? If not, can I please ask for a mover for this recommendation? Councillor Whitfield. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Gamble. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll move the recommendation as the motion. This code contains the mandatory Local Government Act 2020 requirements. It forms part of the Golden Plains Shire governance framework, and the revised Conduct Code clearly defines a resolution process for disputes between councillors. It also includes a recommendation from the Operation Sandon report to allow for complaints from officers and the public to the Chief Municipal Inspector. I think this should just be a pretty straightforward governance item that's there to ensure councillors carry themselves according to council's visions and values, and the code outlines council's duties and responsibilities. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Gamble.
I commend the work undertaken by the governance team. Improvements in this code after a significant review include the integration of the dispute resolution process, adoption of flowcharts for the purpose of clarification, inclusion of an informal dispute resolution process, and general improvements in readability and clarity. Without repeating a lot of what Councillor Whitfield said, I'll note that the new revised Code of Conduct presented here sets out a clear path or method of potentially settling disputes and grievances between councillors. Sometimes it might be just a misunderstanding and all that's needed is an apology or acknowledgement. However, parties must be of goodwill to be even prepared to engage in a dispute resolution process at council level. For example, if parties refuse to engage in the dispute resolution discussion because they believe they're never wrong or somehow missed the multiple email requests, for example, then the issues and egregious behaviours can fester, even multiply if not addressed. This can have a deleterious effect on the whole organisation, with councillor and staff morale, potentially resignations, even leading to councils put into administration and residents losing all their representation. So if parties refuse to engage in the dispute resolution discussion at council level, councillors are entitled to make a case to have the alleged breaches assessed by the Principal Conduct Register as being significant enough to warrant a hearing, if they are considered serious enough and arbiter is appointed. I believe this Code of Conduct is a significant improvement over the first or original iteration, which happened under the new Local Government Act of 2020. And so I commend it to my fellow councillors. Thank you.
Any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Any councillors wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Rowe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This group of 7 councillors previously adopted a councillor code of conduct and a councillor dispute resolution policy on the 23rd of February 2021, some 3 months after the 2020 council elections. As a group of councillors, we only have 12 months left of a 4-year term. So I think it is only fitting to leave this policy as it is and let the next term of councillors decide what their councillor code of conduct should look like. Because at the end of the day, the Golden Plains Shire councillors are the owners of this code.
Any other councillors wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Sharkey, thank you.
Thank you very much. Look, firstly, there's been a power of work put into this. It does, in a lot of areas, clearly define things a lot better. With regards to that councillor interaction thing, we go through those steps. We had that in place. We've had that in place. We've verbally all committed to that. My concern with this. And I was watching Ted Lasso last night's TV show there of a coach came in at half time to speak to the players, and he spoke about not being able to change the rules of the game. But we as councillors can change ourselves, the players can change. But this document was written, and we committed to a document. We set out the rules of engagement within 4 months of being elected as per the Act. Now we're at three-quarter time, and we're not just making amendments. We're not making amendments to this. We have completely rewritten it. Is it a better document? Arguably, yes. But this is at three-quarter time, and here we are going to completely rewrite the document. I just don't believe that this is the right time to do so. The next election will take place in 12 months' time. Those councillors can pick up this document, they can look at the previous one, they can make the changes they want, but I don't believe that this is the right time. I think there's a lot of good in that document. There's not too many parts that I can rip out and sort of say that are bad, but this timing isn't right. I sat down after watching Ted Lasso last night and went through a lot of other councillors. I couldn't find any other councillor that have changed their code of conduct mid-term, and I'm sure if some have, that there may be amendments, but what this document is a complete rewrite. We can't even hold the two documents next to one another. It is a complete rewrite. Is it better? Probably. Is it now the right time? I don't believe so, so I won't be supporting this policy at this time for that reason. Thank you very much.
Any other councillors wishing to speak against? Councillor
Yeah, thank you. I disagree with this update, as fellow councillors are not abiding to the current policy. To this day, I'm waiting an apology to myself, my wife and family.
Councillor Getson,
for the foul language
Councillor
you
Getson,
used.
point of order. I'll just remind you, please, that in rules of governance, previous matters and findings are not relevant to this debate. You just need to please keep the debate to consideration of the policy in front of us. Thank you.
All I'm saying is I request an apology, please. As Councillor Gamble says, apologies are available. I request an apology.
Councillor
in the
Getson,
chamber.
you're on. Point of order. It is irrelevant, please. If I can, thank you, Councillor Getson. I mentioned earlier in the evening that I met with the Minister of Local Government, Honourable Melissa Horn. Most of the time that I had speaking to her, and she spoke to the other council delegates were there, was in regards to her concerns in regards to the increase of poor and unacceptable behaviour by elected councillors in sections of local government throughout Victoria. The Minister's belief is there needs to be an overhaul of the current councillor code of conduct policies, including a higher level of what is acceptable behaviour and also a higher level of penalties that can be applied. She was quite interested to hear that Surf Coast Shire has done a lot of work in their code of conduct, and also she was extremely keen to hear about the amount of work that our councillor group and council have undertaken to review our current code of conduct, bringing it into line with a lot of other ones. It's a comprehensive review that will deliver a clearer, comprehensive document that also includes improved processes for informal and internal resolutions. The Minister stated to me that she would look forward to following the progress and final outcome of the review of our council code of conduct at tonight's meeting. Councillor Whitfield, can I ask you to close, please?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, interesting different points of view around the table. I think I should respond to Councillor Rowe pointing out that we did it within 3 months of an election. It is legislated to be done within 4 months of an election. Everyone has to do that. And the legislation also says that it can be reviewed at any time throughout the council term. Interesting there, Mayor Cunningham speaking with the minister, and the minister believes that it's necessary. There's an inclusion in this review that is a response to Operation Sandon, which we all understand the seriousness of that. This review has been workshopped by councillors at several briefings, and I think we had a small taste of why the review is required even during this debate. Yeah, I might leave it there. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillors, I'll now put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Okay, councillors, says it must be carried at least 5 votes to 5 to be considered. I'll call for a division of councillors. All those for? Councillor Cunningham, Gamble, Whitfield and Kirby. Those against? Councillor Getson, Councillor Sharkey, Councillor Rowe. Thank you. Motion not carried. Councillors, I refer you to 8.7, the Media and Communications Policy Adoption. I refer you to page 35 of the agenda for this report. The recommendation is that Council adopts the updated Media Communications Policy as attached in place of the previous media statements and public notice policy. Are there any questions to the directors? If not, may I please ask for a move of this recommendation? Councillor Gamble, thank you. May I please ask for a seconder for this recommendation? Need a seconder for the recommendation, please. Councillor Kirby, thank you. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I personally have been subjected to what I consider misrepresentative, politically motivated.
Councillor Gamble, can I please ask you once again, in accordance with the government's rules, previous matters and findings are not relevant to this debate. If I could ask you to please keep your debate to consideration of the policy in front of us.
I was merely trying to demonstrate the impacts of...
I appreciate that, but maybe another time and place.
This policy revision, I believe, is to make it harder for councillors of ill will to unfairly attack fellow councillors, and also to wide out the organisation and the work and legitimate beliefs and perspectives of other councillors for what can be seen as narrow self-interested political opportunism. But it is also to provide clarity of what councillors should do when questioned or even harassed by media, to save councillors from getting into hot water by commenting on things they don't have all the information, actual facts or perspective on. With this revised policy, media and communications policy, councillors can still make statements on social media. They are just obligated to refer it back through the organisation for fact-checking, a fuller perspective, etc. As councillors, our role is not to take random misinformed potshots and engage in confirmation bias with the councillors' harshest critics. The linchpin of this discussion, I believe, was the previous policy that said councillors should. The meaning of that should was being misinterpreted to mean it was optional, conveniently ignoring the qualifying statements that came after. It's now being changed to must. I also point out this policy is revised with intention of bringing it in line with and consistent with other council media and communications policies. I believe with this particular councillor group, this is an appropriate tightening of the policy. Thank you.
Councillor, would you like to speak to the motion?
The purpose of this is just to make sure that as councillors, we vote on a mayor at the end of the day. The mayor is our spokesperson. We as councillors are not gagged, but we vote to elect a mayor for this responsibility. Yes, we don't know all the facts at all times when it comes to us being when we have media or other certain individuals come to us and want our opinion. Our opinion doesn't matter after the vote. If something has been voted on, we are here to represent all the people. So just because I might not like what was voted on doesn't give me the right to go out and talk about any other discrepancies that might have come out of that policy or that meeting or that strategy that might be in place. I think it's a way of, as councillors, we are elected by the residents, and we have to uphold and be accountable for what we say and do. So I think this is just a little step further in making sure that our actions are not those of ours, but doing the best job for all the residents in the Shire. So I think at the end of the day, whether you have a Facebook page or if you're out in the media or you get contacted by the media, I think it all has to come back to that if there's something that it's a very important issue, it has to be directed back to the Mayor. It goes through the Communications Department and then comes on, and if the Mayor's not available, it is then the Deputy Mayor that can speak. So I think this is just something, it's just closing the gap a little bit more, but I think as councillors, we're all on the same page. We've got to step up. As I said, we get voted in by the residents to do the right thing, to do the right job, and that is why we have a Mayor and Deputy Mayor for those roles. Thank you.
Any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Councillors wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Sharkey, thank you.
Thank you very much. Very passionately and strongly we'll be voting against this. Councillors, through media communication, Council aims to keep the community well informed and engaged in discussions about Council activities, services and programs. Under our current Code of Conduct that we've all signed up to, we have under values, we have integrity, the word integrity. Underneath that, it clearly states that we use open and transparent communication. It also says that we speak up when we see behaviours that compromise our values. Now, I'm going to apologise to all councillors here. My values aren't the same as your values. The people that voted me in don't hold the same values as you and vice versa. We are a completely different group of 7 different individual and councillors. Now, the media, be it a newspaper or social media or whatever, that is our conduit to speaking and communicating with our people that elected us. Now, why this document asks me to do, if I was at the market one month and I left there and a journalist says, "Oh, and what's your thoughts on the market?" I can't speak to that journalist now. I've got to ring up and speak to the CEO of the day and speak to him. An unelected representative, I've got to speak to the CEO and notify them. Then I've got to speak to the Mayor. And then I've got to go back to the journalist. And I can say whatever I want then, but I've got to notify them. Everything I say to the journalist then, I've got to go back, get in front of my computer and write down everything that I've said to them and email the CEO and Mayor of the day. Really, councillors? I referred back to a couple of news articles. Councillor Kirby was at
Councillor Sharkey, I'll please ask you once again, in accordance with the Governance Act, previous matters and findings are not relevant to this debate. Please keep the debate to consider the policy in front of us. Thank you.
I don't feel I was convening that, so I'll continue. Councillor Kirby was perfectly representing her
Councillor,
community.
I've asked you once. If you continue to raise irrelevant matters, I will be directing you to stop speaking on this matter.
I don't think it's irrelevant.
Well, you're bringing up previous matters which aren't relevant.
You haven't heard what the matter is, so you're preempting what I'm saying. Allow me to finish. I don't feel like...
some leeway.
Councillor Kirby attended a community event, represented her local community, Rokewood, and did a fine job doing so. And during that, she was asked for comments by the media, and she spoke to the media and said good things and spoke about the challenges. Councillor Kirby is a councillor of 15 years' experience. Now, why she should have to not speak to the journalist there and perfectly represent her community, ring up the CEO, an unrepresentative elective, and then speak to a mayor who 9 times out of 10 is going to have less experience than her to seek advice. I don't understand that. Councillor Gamble, perfectly representative council this year, and was quoted in the newspaper as representing the Meredith Music Festival. He was leaving it and spoke highly and commended how good of an event it was. He can't do that into the future. He has to say to the journalist, I have to ring the CEO, I have to ring the mayor and let them know what I'm going to say. Councillors, if you want to gag yourself, go down to Bunnings and get some tape and put it over your mouth. This is not... I signed up to be open and transparent with the community, and in doing so, I believe this completely restricts us in doing so. Social media, every time I put a post there, if I was at the market with my kids and I took a photo and I said, look, this is a great event, come down, council do a fantastic job, I could have put a disclosure at the bottom of that to notify my friends and family. Twitter, one of the biggest social media platforms, we're no longer allowed to use that because you only get 170 characters. 25% of your characters are gone now just with that disclaimer under every single post. This hasn't been thought out enough, councillors. We are gagging ourselves and we are completely cutting off the conduit that lets us speak to our representative. Our values are not the same. I'm going to condemn council. Council isn't perfect. Every single one of us got elected from angst. We had an issue with council. We're here. We learn a lot. We continue to have issues with council. It's the way in which we do it. It's the way in which we do it. Now, the Mayor spoke about Minister Horner and these guiding documents. These media documents and the previous code of conduct, it shouldn't be up to us as council to put these together. Let the state government put these documents in and feed them up and let them spend all the money rather than 79 councils put together a media policy and all different versions of it. We're going to have councillors come on in 12 months' time. They're going to have a different version of this. Councillors, I can't support this and passionately so.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
Thank you. I'd just like to say one of the reasons I think, but not the whole reason, this change to the media and communications policy has come to council is because of me speaking to the Golden Plains Times after they contacted me some months back on the gravel road grading within the Shire.
Councillor Rowe, once again, in accordance with Government's Rule 60, previous matters and findings are not relevant to this debate. Please keep debate to the consideration policy in front of us.
May I continue?
You may, but not going down that track.
I certainly will not be supporting council to adopt the updated media and communications policy in place of the previous media statements and public notices. We need freedom of speech and expression as necessary for the functioning of a truly representative local government. A free, uncensored and unhindered press or other media is essential in any society to ensure freedom of opinion and expression and the enjoyment of other coveted rights. It constitutes one of the cornerstones of a democracy, a democratic society. The free communication of information and ideas about public and political issues between citizens, ratepayers and elected representatives is essential. This implies a free press and other media able to comment on public issues without censorship or restraint to inform the public. The public also has a corresponding right to receive media output. We don't need to change this policy. Leave it as it is, and this is not the time for change.
Any other councillors wishing to speak against the motion? Any councillors wishing to speak for the motion? Councillor Whitfield, thank you.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Some interesting points of view getting put across. Firstly, this policy incorporates the Local Government Act 2020 requirements, and it's been reviewed to better deal with scenarios that have played out in recent arbiters' decisions and findings. Decisions such as the Latrobe City Council IAP 2023-8, where a councillor claimed a personal opinion was posted to social media, but it wasn't clarified on that media, and as such could have been construed as comments in their councillor role. Those comments were determined by the arbiter to have breached the Code of Conduct. When posting on social media or responding to questions from the media, it's important to ensure any detail provided is accurate. Thus, the inclusion to check with the CEO or the comms department prior to providing a statement. This policy does not restrict free speech. It just endeavours to ensure the manner in which opinions are expressed are done respectfully, are fair and are accurate. I just want to think, I don't disagree with Councillor Sharkey. We are 7 different people, but I think you're confusing values for priorities. I would think that we all have high values and good values, but our priorities for our constituents are different, and rather than values themselves, because we are supposed to adhere to the values we've signed up under the Code of Conduct, so they should all be the same. But yeah, it's not a restriction of free speech, it's just asking for it to be done better. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Gamble, I'll ask you to close. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd further like to echo Councillor Whitfield's closing remarks about it being free speech done better. And also to note that this policy was revised with the intention of bringing it in line and consistent with other councils' media and communications policies. And like I said, I think with this particular councillor group, we've had some unfortunate lapses, and I think this is the best way we can address that. It's important for the health of all councillors here and the organisation too, that we have a more coordinated and factual messaging. So, regarding the Meredith Music Festival, I had permission from the Mayor to speak at that event, and so I'll just point out that this, with this revised policy, councillors can still make statements on social media. They are just obligated to refer it back through the organisation for fact-checking and get the fuller perspective, instead of just getting out there and putting their own viewpoints which can often create confusion and a lot of heartache for people that are affected. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. I'll now put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Division.
Fourth division. Thank you. Councillors voted for motion. Councillor Kirby, Cunningham, Gamble, Whitfield. Councillors voting against. Councillors Getson, Sharkey and Rowe. Thank you. Councillors, we move on to agenda item 8.8, review of instrument of delegation, council to council staff. I refer councillors to page 40 of the agenda for this report, and the recommendation is there. Councillors, do we have any questions to Director Gray? Thank you. If not, can I please ask for a mover for this recommendation? Whitfield, thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Gamble, thank you. Councillor Whitfield, I'd ask you to speak to the motion, please.
Oh, very briefly, thanks, Mr Mayor. It's a very procedural item. There's been a small change to the instrument and the associated delegated positions. By delegating these powers, council is able to function. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Nothing further to add, thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Any councillors wishing to speak against the motion? Seeing that there's not, I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, agenda item 8.9, review of instrument of delegation Environment Protection Act of 2017. Information regarding this agenda item is on page 44. I refer councillors to page 44 for the agenda of this report and the applicable recommendation. Are there any questions to Director Gray regarding this agenda item? If not, may I please ask for a mover for the recommendation? Councillors Whitfield, thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Gamble, thank you very much. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Quickly, once again, thanks, Mayor. In this case, this review is required because of a position title change from Manager Development and Regulatory Services to Manager Regulatory Services. And updates to the instrument are required under the EPA Act 2017. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the recommendation?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Any councillors wishing to speak against the motion? Seeing as there's no councillors wishing to speak against the motion and there's no opposition, I'll go straight to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, we go to agenda item 8.10, panel of suppliers, electrical services and maintenance works. Agenda page items on page 48. I refer councillors to this page for the full report and the recommendation. Councillors, are there any questions to Director Josipovic? Not, can I please ask for a councillor to move the recommendation? Councillor Gamble, thank you. May I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Rowe? Yep. Thank you very much. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
The provision of these panel of suppliers of electrical services are designed to cover an impressive 180 buildings and structures of various types. I have confidence in the process and the assessment undertaken. I believe that it was comprehensive and an appropriate process, and congratulate Stack Electrical, GT Electrical Contractors and Barwon Asset Solutions for being awarded the role of supplying Golden Plains Shire Council with electrical services and maintenance works. Thank you.
Councillor Rowe, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. All I'd like to say is we've gone through the process and been a detailed assessment of the submissions, and these three have come up compliant. I did notice, I think from memory, I think it was 5 years ago, I think we might have finished up with, say, five electrical service and maintenance works, and this time we seem to have three. But anyway, that should be sufficient to carry out the services throughout the Golden Plains Shire.
Councillor Rowe. Councillors, any other councillors who speak to the motion? Speak against the motion? Seeing there's no opposition, I'll go straight to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we have no notice of motions, we have no petitions, we have no urgent business, we've got no confidential reports for decision. A couple of points here before I close. I also, on behalf of fellow councillors and council and the community, would like to acknowledge Councillor Kirby's recent award for 15 years of service. Also, as pointed out to me today, this will be my last council meeting that I'll chair during the third term of this council. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank and acknowledge the support, assistance and guidance that I've received from the CEO Brassless, executive directors, in particular the government's team, the council departments, council officers and staff. Thank you, and I now close the council meeting, closed at 3 minutes past 8.